Hello, everyone. Happy Women's History Month. Hope you all have been doing something to celebrate Women's History Month this month. And before we get into today's video, as always, I have so many papers here. On top of my book, What If I Ruled the World? Poems Inspired by Music, by yours truly. It's always linked in the description and in the link tree. Tap in. I need to start working on my newest book, and I really need to get on it. But today we're here to talk about a different book, a book called Come Closer by Sara Gran. And as you can tell, I have highlighted a lot in this book. So let's get into it. I don't know if you can see, but Kaylani is my screensaver. Not my screensaver, my wallpaper. I don't know if you can see it really well from over there, from over here, because I don't have it fully in the camera view, but that's my girl. She don't know it yet, but she is. So I originally started this book last October. It was supposed to be my Halloween video, but I didn't finish it in time, and I finally finished it. It's actually really short, at least this version. I'm on Storygraph, which is Black owned. It's just like what's that other one that just got bought? Oh, Goodreads, that Jeff Bezos just bought. So if you don't want to support him or Amazon, Storygraph um is Black owned, and you can track your reading that way. That's what I did. And this one has a few different editions, and some of them are a little bit longer than the other ones, but this one is 165 pages, which is not a lot, but of course I still took forever to read it. And I did get this on Amazon. So, I mean, I got it last October. Um, but I'm sure you can get it plenty of other places, so you don't have to support Amazon. You probably get it somewhere cheaper at like a thrift store or like a thrift online store. But yeah, so I'm gonna keep it in my lap, so I don't have to keep holding it. But I'm gonna give you a little bit of information about Sara Gran, and the genre of this book is thriller slash horror. Um, that's the genre, and it was released July 1st, 2020. I mean, 2020, 2003. Can't read what I typed. And the synopsis is: a successful architect's life spirals out of control as she experiences a series of disturbing events, including a mysterious noise in her apartment and a growing obsession with a beautiful, sinister woman in her dreams. So that was the least spoiler synopsis I can give, even though I've already given a synopsis. But yeah, if you haven't seen my short videos, you should check those out. So Gran is the author of 7 novels, including Come Closer, which we're going to read, or we're going to talk about, and Dope. Her novel Claire Ditwit and the City of the Dead was the first uh, in a series, and it won the 2012 Macavity Award for Best Novel. Okay, her third Claire Ditwit novel, The Infinite Backdrop, was published on September 18, 2018. That's cool, 1818. Okay, Grant started a small press. I feel like I'm missing a word, but I guess she started her own press company called Dreamland Books. I'm getting this all from Wikipedia, so this might be a little choppy. So some of her novels have come to the attention of film and television industry. In 2003, this book that we're going to talk about today was looked at by a director, Carter Smith, although as of October 2012, nothing has been released yet. The same applies to her 2006 novel, Dope, which had actress Julianne Moore slated for the lead role, although no episodes have been released. She has written some scripts for TNT, the show Southland, and 2 other series, Chance and Berlin Station. Okay, this one is uncredited, so I don't want to put it because they have like a win. Like, you need to verify this. But allegedly, she might be doing something with Guillermo del Toro. Sorry to that man. I like his movies. I feel like I've seen at least Pan's Labyrinth. I've seen Shape of Water. Of course, they're all weird, but that's his thing, you know. Uh, and I didn't think Shape of Water was bad. Of course, it was like you're with the fish man, but that's a whole other thing. So that's what I have about Sarah Gran. I feel like her Wikipedia page didn't have much, but this is what I got from it. So the characters in the book are Amanda, who's the main protagonist, a successful architect who finds her life off kilter by degrees. She experiences a growing sense of unease and starts to exhibit erratic and disturbing behaviors. And then Ed is Amanda's husband, whose life is also affected by the strange occurrences surrounding Amanda. And Fields is Amanda's boss, who is involved in the events of the story. He's only really involved because she works for a company called Fields and something else, and they're like an architect company. But he's only like in the beginning of the book, which was really interesting. Because she has an incident in the beginning of the book, and it's kind of like the first signs of that something's wrong. So I'm gonna get into this book. Didn't have any chapters, so I don't really have a favorite chapter and a least favorite chapter. So I could talk about parts that I thought were my favorite, but I'm gonna talk about something later on. But I'm gonna give a major spoiler alert because I feel like there's some things that that I'm probably gonna have to spoil in order to like really get into this book. So just spoiler alert if you haven't read it and you want to read it. This is your warning. Okay, so my first pro is Amanda and her first person perspective. I love that you get to see everything that Amanda sees. Most possession stories are seen from other people's point of views, so it's nice to see the transformation from the first person perspective. And it's like when you're watching for example, The Conjuring, you're seeing it from Ed and Lorraine's point of view, mostly, I guess. I feel like that makes sense. Yeah. And then when you're with the family, then you see it through their point of view, but you never really see. Well, now I might have to rewatch the movie. That is one of my favorite horror movies. But I don't think you ever really see it through the mom who is actually possessed. If you haven't seen this movie, I'm so sorry. I did give a spoiler alert. I guess I'm giving it for everything. But you never see it through the mom's perspective of the family that the Warrens are helping. So you don't get like the first person experience of like of her having like these changes happen and like her realizing that something isn't right, you know? So I really love that. And to see her and to see the changes she notices in herself over time, it's really interesting to see from this book. Um is this a spoiler? It kind of already said it in the synopsis, but the imagery of her dreams, of the dreams. Oh, this is not technically a spoiler, but it is something. She has some dreams. I like the imagery of the dreams and other scenes in the book. Of course, the possession as a topic. There's a lot of scary imagery that is very tricky to like imagine because there's no images, so you have to just use your own imagination. And this would be interesting to see, it come to fruition if it really does become a movie or a TV show. Because once something leaves the page, it's up to like a different interpretation. And I kind of like that it has not been made into anything, so I could just imagine it how I want to. Versus like, for example, Kindred. I talked about this book and I talked about the series, and of course there were a lot of changes from the book to the series, and it was not at all how I imagined it because they changed stuff from the book. So there's that. And what else? Oh, and that's so different for me that like I can see the imagery as I want to see it. So if I want to see it a certain way, I can see it that way, and I don't have any other like images to go on, and I don't have to like stick to any other images. And the next pro is the transformation of Amanda. It's so interesting to see how a demonic possession affects a regular person, and it doesn't have anything to do with the haunted house or object. I talked about this in my short video, but she's just, living her life, doing her job, and then all of a sudden weird stuff starts happening. And then she starts acting differently. And I want to say dressing differently. I'm trying not to give you all of the book. I think you should read it. But she starts noticing things over time. She's like, I'm changing. Something's not right. Um, and it was fascinating to see what her possession made her do and changes to her personality from it. Even, the little things like, I'll give one example. That's kind of, I'm going to say, she steals something and she's like, oh, she used to do that when she was younger, I think. And she's like, oh, I haven't done that in a while. And like, why am I doing this? And it was just different things, uh, going out, smoking cigarettes again, even though she quit, little things like that. Those aren't too spoilery. Yeah. Oh, and also another pro is knowing the signs of demonic possession. And I'm gonna read the checklist so we can see if you watching this video are possessed or not. And I hope I dog-eared the page that this is actually on. So she has a book. And that's another thing I love. It's like when they have a book inside of a book. It's hard to do this with one hand. But I want to read the checklist because I just feel like it's so fascinating. Be fascinating if I could find it. I don't think it's this far in the book. I was supposed to dog ear it, but knowing me, I'm like, did I dog ear it too late? Let's see. Oh, here it is. Okay. So she's reading a book and it's called Demonic Possession, Past and Present. On the first page, there was a little quiz. Are you possessed by a demon? So here's the checklist. I hear strange noises in my home, especially at night, which family members tell me only occur when I am present. I'm not going to say which ones are in the book because I feel like you should find out. 2, I have new activities and pastimes that seem out of character, and I do things that I do not intend and do not understand. 3, I'm short tempered. I'm short and ill tempered with my friends and loved ones. I can't read, y'all, and I can't talk. I can understand languages I've never studied, and I have the ability to know things I couldn't know through ordinary means. 5, I have blackouts not caused by drugs, alcohol, or a pre existing health condition. 6, I have unusual new thoughts or hear voices in my head. I have visions or dreams of personalities who may be demons. 8, a psychic minister or other spirituals has told me I'm possessed. I have urges to hurt or kill animals and other people. I have hurt or killed animals or people. And then they have a scale to tell you what you are. If 0 to 3, you're probably not possessed. See a doctor or a mental health professional for an evaluation. If you have 3 to 6 of these characteristics, you may be haunted or in early stages of possession. Do not be alarmed. Seek a spiritual counselor for assistance. 6 to 10, you are possessed, which I feel like is crazy that you would be able to like know. Like, because I feel like if you were possessed, would you not know? I feel like you would just, I don't know. I feel like, how would you know? Anyway, consult with your spiritual counsel immediately. He doesn't emphasize it, but I'm gonna emphasize it. You may be a threat to the safety of yourself and your family. So yeah, and then it has a little bit more from the book about that. And I just feel like that's really interesting because that's a neat little thing to have. Because like, what if you're like something's wrong with me, and you got a little checklist, and you can check like what's going on. I just feel like that's really neat because I feel like that's like not in any kind of possession movie or anything else that I've like seen or read. This is the first possession book I've ever read, but when we're getting into my cons, and I'm a little bit. We'll talk about it. I'm a little bit skeptical of Amanda as a narrator. That's what I want to talk about. So, those are my pros, and here are my cons. So, I originally came into this book thinking it was going to be ambiguous, and it's not ambiguous at all. It's pretty heavily leaning towards her being possessed. But I'm kind of winging this because I didn't write any notes for the cons. I'm going to talk. But I kind of also feel like, couldn't there be other explanations for what's happening with her? I feel like there could be. So I feel like even though it's not ambiguous in the way that it wants you to really lean into the possessed mindset, basically, they want you to. It's basically she is possessed, pretty much. But I don't know. I feel like, do we really? Are we really sure about this? I'm gonna get to this other con. Is like, is Amanda really a reliable narrator? Because she's going like in and out of this possession. And the thing about it is, for me, I don't think she's a reliable narrator because I feel like if you're possessed, not saying that like in possession movies, there's never a moment of clarity, but I feel like she has a lot for someone who's possessed. I feel like if you're possessed, wouldn't you just not be in at all? I don't know. I feel like, especially like once you get really possessed, I feel like you, to me, now, of course, this is my first time ever reading something from a first person perspective of being possessed. So I don't know from like another, like, I'm trying to think of all of the horror movies I watched. Was there ever like a time where the person like realized why, like while they're being possessed and not like after like an exorcism, for example? Um, and I can't think of anything, so that makes me kind of skeptical because I feel like you're possessed. That I feel like that demon is just taking over your body. I don't feel like you ever would get out of that unless you were exercised. So that's why I'm like, I don't really know. I don't really trust that she's 100% possessed. I definitely feel like she's more having some kind of mental health issues because she's able to come back. And I feel like, just for me personally, if I couldn't imagine being possessed and like just having moments where you're not possessed. Like that doesn't make sense to me. Oh, and another thing that I really don't like is that there's like no real solution um to, if you're possessed. Like you go to the counselor or you go to someone. Well, okay, I'm gonna say she does have some solutions, but she does not really follow through with them. So that, I mean, that's kind of on her. I guess it is kind of on her. I'm not gonna spoil, like, of course, what solutions she had, but she did have some options. That's what I'll say. One option is related to the book, inside the book that I just read the list from, but that wasn't really a serious solution. But she did have other solutions, but she didn't follow through with them. So, and there's also a weird scene with a psychiatrist, and I'm kind of wondering if it's just her being paranoid or if the psychiatrist was weird, because I don't know, I feel like something was off with that, and I feel like just I feel like she didn't really trust going to another psychiatrist, and I'm like, girl, you could just try again, but she did not. That's kind of a spoiler, but yeah. I'm not gonna, of course, I didn't tell you everything about the psychiatrist, but it was weird, and then it was weird with her doctor, because um once you read it, you know what I'm talking about. Basically, like, I'm gonna say it. The doctor and the psychiatrist knew some stuff that she did not tell them. I'm pretty sure that's what was happening. And yeah, it freaked her out. But I kind of feel like it was probably in her mind. And I feel like she probably did tell her doctor something, but she forgot because she's going in and out. But that's just my opinion. And then the ending, of course, I'm not going to spoil it, but it is depressing. It is bad. Like the worst type. It's like the worst ending I'm trying to think of the right word to say. It's the worst outcome that you could expect from this. From everything that she's gone through, it's like culminates into this horrible last thing. And it really sucks. Because I really wanted her to like break free. I was looking at a subreddit talking about this, and there is no real exorcism scene. And it does make me like kind of be like, I wonder if that would have worked. Like if it was a real exorcism in the book. Um, how would it have gone down? How would it have been? But it reminds me of like a true crime like show where it's like in the beginning they're like, oh, this couple was so great and they're so wonderful, and then of course someone snapped, and then you're like, dang, they were doing really good and everything was fine. That's kind of how it is. It's like ah, really culminated until like this really depressing sad ending, and I was like, damn. I was so excited to finish the book, and it kind of let the air out of me. I was like, oh. And I mean, I don't know what I expected, honestly. Like, what was I expecting? That was a lot of crazy stuff was happening, so I don't know what I expected to happen at the end, but not what happened. Even though I feel like it's kind of obvious, like, you know, things are spiraling out of control. Hey, but yeah, those are my pros and my cons, and I'm gonna give my overall opinion. I will say I enjoyed the book, but I thought it would be more ambiguous. Like I said, I love the imagery of the dreams and some scenes outside of the dreams. Like some scenes with other people, in her, I'm gonna say her possessed mind, because that's what we're supposed to think. Were kind of warped, and that was interesting to like imagine. And I wonder, are we supposed to trust Amanda completely or be skeptical? Um, at first, it didn't give unreliable narrator, and I did kind of look into it, and it's like, yeah, because she's not all the way there. Like she's not all the way. Like she doesn't remember some things like when she's possessed. So it's like she's kind of blacking out, like in and out. So do we trust her 100%? I don't know, especially with the ending. So something happens. Of course, something happens at the end, and she confirms something mental health wise that I will say that I feel like kind of counters the demonic possession theme. Because like, if you're gonna claim this at the end of the book, then it can't be that you're possessed. I don't know. I feel like if you can rationally say, "Oh, yes, I'm having a mental health issues," like she pretty much confirms it at the end. Um, then in a way, I'm trying not to spoil it, but in a way, she does confirm that she does have mental health issues. So she knows, and she's very like conscious of like some of this. And then another thing, she's conscious some things she doesn't remember doing possessed, but then some other things she does remember. So I'm like, So yeah, but it's definitely very creepy. It has great horror though. I love the first person perspective of demonic possession and how it could affect an ordinary person, and of course, affect your loved ones because she's with her husband, and then their relationship is ruined basically. So, and I want to talk about something. So I saw one review that was like, "What if she's just like changing, like she's growing up and she's growing older and she's just changing as a person, and it's not it's I guess I didn't really read all of it, the article that said this, but my take would probably be, is it just that she's just growing up and they're growing apart, but the demonic possession is like a way to her for her to be like, oh, this is why me and my husband are growing apart, or this is why I'm changing, is because I'm possessed, versus like I'm just growing older and I want to change. So that was an interesting take. And I feel like that could also be a possibility. I mean, outside of the ending, which was horrific, um, that could be a possibility. But do we really trust her? I don't know. I liked Amanda as a character. I did. Um, but do I trust everything that's happening? I don't think so. Another thing is I felt kind of empty finishing the book. Like, unfortunately, Amanda's life is ruined, and there's nothing that can fix it. And that was really like very depressing. This book was such an on the edge of your seat book, and definitely had me hooked. I wish the ending was more positive, which I'm like, how was it gonna be? Because she was not doing anything to like fix anything. So, but it's definitely realistic. I will give this book a 7 out of 10. I do recommend it. I feel like it would have been higher. The ending is realistic, maybe a little bit too realistic, but I don't know. I guess if maybe she got exercised or something, I'd have been like, oh, okay, she's out of it. That's kind of positive. Maybe I would have gave it a better score. But I feel like 7 out of 10 is pretty good, 70%. So I'm going to talk about my opinion on possessions in real life. I personally don't really believe in real life possessions because I think those traits of demonic possession could be explained away, especially like the blackouts and the oh, there's this other person inside of me and there's voices in my head. Very mental health coded, like they definitely could be explained away. And I also have heard of people dying during exorcisms, and that makes me very skeptical of them in general. Um, I was actually looking up real life like exorcisms for this video, and yeah, it's a lot of not really like positive stuff. Like some people been chained up, they've been tied up, they've been killed, not fed, not given anything to drink. Like it's just dying of dehydration, of starvation. It feels like an easy way to be abused, basically, to me. And I think unfortunately religion does not like to take mental health illnesses seriously. It's always the devil and not just like a chemical imbalance in your brain. And that medicine is not the enemy. If you need medicine, you need medicine. And I think we need better health, mental health help overall. Like, and I think it does not have to be. Oh, and I don't think it has to be non-religious either, because there are religious psychiatrists. So I feel like even if you can go to a religious psychiatrist, so it doesn't have to be like, oh, I can't go to a psychiatrist because of my religion. You can find someone who does have your religious beliefs. I just think instead of thinking everything is demonic, people need to have like to be better educated on mental health, and especially I feel like I've wanted to talk about this for a while, but I feel like there's a lot of people with religious or spiritual psychosis online, but because it's religious or spiritual, people don't want to say, "Hey, this isn't right," because they don't want to. I guess they don't want to be offensive to the person because it is a religious like psychosis that they're having or a spiritual one, and so much religion is already like very grandiose and I don't mythical or kind of just there is just a lot of like ideas in religion that are just very out there in general. So then putting psychosis on top of that is hard probably to tell the difference. So that's what I'm trying to say. But unfortunately everybody has a camera. They can put it in their face anytime they want and say anything they want. And there's nothing really you can do because how do you know if someone's having religious psychosis or if that's just their religious beliefs? So it's kind of a hard thing. But yeah, do you believe in demonic possessions? Have you been possessed? According to this quiz that I read, are you possessed right now? And yeah, let me know your thoughts. Have you read this book? Have you not read this book? Will you read it now? I recommend it. Of course, I said the ending was like sad. It's very depressing, but I mean, it's realistic. I would definitely recommend this book. It's a quick read for somebody other than me who takes months to read just under 200 pages. But if you're a quick reader, I saw that subreddit talking a subreddit talking about this. Somebody read it in like 4 hours. Some people read it in a day. Some people read it in the afternoon. I think it's a very fast read, and it's not a hard read. I would say, of course, the imagery and the ending were like, some stuff was hard to get through because I was like, oh, this is very intense. But I would definitely recommend it. So let me know your thoughts, and I will see you all next week.